All right. Richard, indeed, North Korea launched a missile or two, depending on what you believe, toward and then over the nation of Japan, which, by the way, is a mystery to me because earlier today I got out a globe, and if you look at the construction of North Korea, they could have fired the missile straight south and gone over no landmass at all.
Yeah, I was very perplexed by Major Dame's geography last night, because when you fire a weapon of war over a sovereign nation,
yeah, serious
going back
thing.
hundreds of years, that is a declaration of hostility.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a serious thing. If a missile came over Florida from Cuba, believe me, the DEFCON levels would be rising, the silos would be opening, there'd be all hell to pay. So,
and as someone who has gone to the War College, I would think that Mr. Dames ought to know better. There is a lot to this that doesn't meet the eye, and frankly, I was very taken aback when I thought I was providing corroborative evidence last night from one of his colleagues that, in fact, the first shot in this, new phase was fired by North Korea. Only by the grace of God knows what, it didn't, connect.
Yeah, you thought, I'm sure, that he would embrace that as supporting what he said.
He would look at it in the context that we're all looking at cutting-edge issues.
Yeah, okay, and instead the big chill came down. I mean, it was incredible. So you claim NSA sources. Here is your NSA source. Vance Davis, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And I'm not giving out your name without your permission, am I?
No, you're not.
All right.
I'm giving it out as Richard has told you. And hello, Richard.
Good evening, Vance.
We've had a busy week, haven't we?
Yes.
Okay, you're in somewhere in Arizona, right, Vance?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix,
yes.
okay.
Down here in the 104 degrees.
104 degrees. Vance, when were you NSA?
I went in the military in 1983 from Wichita, Kansas. Went through school and then was assigned as a Army E4 into NSA at Fort Meade, Maryland. And that was in 1984. So from 1984 until 1990, I was in and around NSA all the time. And most of the time, except for 2 years, I had civilian bosses. GS-18s on up.
And you were an E4 level?
Yes, I was. Although I didn't wear a uniform quite often.
Didn't wear a uniform. All right.
That was a policy at NSA at the time.
Okay, I can certainly buy that.
General Odom in 1985 started changing.
Why were you in the NSA, Vance?
Well, as I was told...
Or why is anybody in the NSA, I guess? In other words, how do you get approached, recruited, joined, whatever, especially as an E4?
Well, you'd have to go to the history of NSA, which was started by President Truman. Truman started it in 1954, officially calling it by that name, National Security Agency, or as inside we call it No Such Agency, until a certain book came out called The Puzzle Palace. Then we were given debriefings on how to handle that little trick. It's interesting, the history behind it, and there was a president edict, or as what we call a presidential decree. They have other names for it.
Directives?
Directives, yes, that put NSA for a long period from 1972, I believe, on up into the direct access or control of all gathering intelligence information because of the snafus that occurred in Vietnam, which I wasn't there, but I'm sure you guys would remember the intelligence snafus that occurred because every branch had their own intelligence service. So NSA became a central source. In that, NSA has a right to pull from the ranks of the military certain individuals that they feel could benefit them.
Why did they pull you?
Well, as I was told, when I went through, I was told at AIT school in Pensacola, Florida, or Gulf Breeze, Florida, that I had been requested with my roommate to go to NSA, which does not usually occur, Art and Richard, until you've already served 4 or 8 years, at least 2 tours. We got requested right out of school, which was unusual. We were told it's very unusual to have that happen.
Were you told why?
I had an implication that when I went through an interrogation at NSA, through a lie detector test, which they still, I guess they still use it today from what I understand, sitting there asking me all the questions about my past. And I don't know if anybody's out there, if you have, Art, or Richard has been through a security clearance program. You do that 3 or 4 times.
I had a top secret clearance in the Air Force.
Okay, I had a TSC, which is a top secret clearance code word, to work there. That was given to me, but it was supplied through NSA. They gave accesses out. So I was being questioned for the accesses to work within the building there. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, they asked me if there was anything else that I needed to tell them. So I proceeded to tell them when I stole a candy bar when I was 6 years old.
Yep.
Okay?
Lay it
my
all
guilt
out.
coming out, right?
Yeah, lay it all out.
Lay it all out. You have nothing to hide. And they said, is there anything else? And I said, no. Well, what's
They probably
interesting...
said, it's candy bars. You're our kind of guy.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, it was a Milky Way. The fear of Dad got to me at the time, so I never stole anything after that. What's interesting, they brought out, after I said, no, I don't have anything else to add, a pile of papers, probably a good 1/4 inch thick, and said, well, what's this? And I'm looking at it, and I flip it open, and it's my classwork and the information on me when I was 15 through 16 years old, taking Silva Mind Control.
Taking Silva Mind Control.
Yes. By Jose Silva out of Laredo, Texas.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I took that class when I was a teenager, when I was in high school. My parents put all of us through it. My whole family took it.
All right, so you're now suggesting that had some bearing on why they picked you.
It had a possibility. In my mind, I'm like, wait a minute. How did they get the information and some of the scores that I scored in those courses?
Oh, come now.
That was my thought, Mark.
They're the NSA. They can do that.
Yeah, well, that's the implication. I didn't know. I was 18 years old. I was stupid.
Vance, can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
There is a very well-done NBC television show, which is run now for a couple, 3 seasons, called The Pretender.
Yep.
And the concept is young children singled out as having special talents or abilities or potential and brought up in an isolated environment to serve something other than normal society.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
The background that Vance is describing, although, he had a normal childhood, it's kind of like
Richard.
someone was monitoring, someone was keeping tabs at the NSA, and they said, we want this one, and this one. And as you'll hear later in the morning, this one, in terms of Vance, turns out to have some pretty interesting faculties and talents.
Let me give you something, gentlemen, that I learned later from certain officers within the NSA and within the Army. I got a security clearance 6 weeks into basic training, a top secret security clearance.
So you must have been picked way back then, is what you're suggesting, really.
They're telling me for that to happen with someone that has and family that has no security clearances within them. Okay, Art?
Yes.
That's fast.
Oh yeah,
Very
I agree with you. All right,
In
so
other words, they
were after you, grooming
they've done
you.
a top-to-bottom CAT scan, and they know he's clean.
Yeah, all right.
And I had never even tried drugs in my life, and of course, a couple people laughed at that one, but oh well.